Record to the cloud.
Recording.
All right. Hey everyone, welcome to the Harbor Committee meeting. Today is March. It's the date 9th, I believe.
10th.
March 10th. March 10th. I don't have too much of an agenda. I just wanted to talk about, the year we've had. What a great year. And then, we discussed sharing the roadmap with everyone on the first of every month. We have like a longer release schedule of 3 months. So maybe not monthly, maybe, like every 2 months or at the beginning of every release. But yeah, for today, I just wanted to talk about, things that we've accomplished in 2020, things that we are trying to accomplish in 2021. Yeah, that's it. And then I think Jonas has a PR out on, this new concept of a project maintainer, which I think is great. Does that sound good to everyone? So maybe we can talk about your PR at the very end, Jonas. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is based on conversations that we've had for a while now, and Zhao Lin pinged me last week to say, hey, maybe we should write this up and make a better, proper proposal. So I did. The essence of this is essentially to make sure to give contributors more autonomy within the project and to make sure that we can rely on more community members and more sub-project maintainers to maintain sub-projects of Harbor. So we want to enable individuals to essentially take ownership of certain parts of Harbor without them being burdened with the ownership of the entire project. So having ownership of a smaller sub-project and be heavily involved within Harbor on that sub-project instead of taking on all of the responsibility as a core maintainer. So that's kind of it, giving people more ownership, more autonomy, and yeah, building out the community of sub-project maintainers.
Okay, yeah. I guess we just discussed it. So there's a PR out on the community repo in Go Harbor. Everyone should go take a look and give your thumbs up, thumbs down, share your thoughts. I think it's great. I was a little hesitant at first because I think it creates some confusion. Like a project maintainer, and we'd have to establish a process around when does a project maintainer become a core maintainer, right? Like how do you become a core maintainer? And what is the end goal of being a project maintainer? Are you just trying to work on that specific aspect of the project, or are you trying to slowly work your way up and be more involved and become a core maintainer? I don't know. Those are all good questions, but I think it does allow for people to get involved more. So you're not just either a contributor or a core maintainer. So thanks for that, Jonas.
Yeah, absolutely. I see it kind of as a similar take on what we do within the Kubernetes project, where we have sub-project owners, we have SIG chairs, we have a bunch of different SIGs that have specialized interests in certain pieces of the project. And not everyone can dedicate their time to be a core maintainer, but being a sub-project maintainer might work depending on work-life balance. So hopefully we can make this happen.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, so I'm just going to go down this list here, talk about what we delivered in 2.2, some of the highlights for the year, and then the roadmap for 2021. Feel free to ask any questions, cut me off or whatever, or we can just do a Q&A at the end. So yeah, we released 2.2. This was a long release, probably almost 4 months. So right now we have system level projects or multi-project scoped robots. I'm sorry. So these are robot accounts that can reach into multiple projects and have APIs, a specialized set of API permissions. We have integration with Prometheus finally. And then we've extended proxy caching capability beyond Docker registry to GCR, Quay, ECR, and ACR, right? So pretty much all the popular registries, and especially all the ones functioning as public registries that we view as critical to the community. We have this new special group, an admin group on OIDC, just like what we have with LDAP. We added support for ECS S3 storage. The Aqua CSP enterprise scanner integration, this is essentially a byproduct of the system level robot accounts. And then we've been saying for a while now that we're going to deprecate Claire, and we finally did. So I hope this wasn't too much of a surprise to anyone. We've been calling it out in the community meetings, in Slack channels. So yeah, so please take a look at 2.2. Give it a try. We'd love your feedback. Yeah, I just want to say a few words about what we accomplished in 2020. 2020 has been such an incredible year. So this is the first VMware originated project to graduate from CNCF. It was incubated fully in Beijing Research and Development in 2015, actually, I believe. So it's been quite a journey. The project stats that I've listed here, the numbers pretty much speak for themselves. We want to thank all the external maintainers, all the contributors, people who attend these community meetings. Like every little bit helps. We were the first OSS registry to support OCI specs, which allows us to host a lot of different types of artifacts beyond just container images and Helm charts. 18 open source releases in 2020. So I think a lot of open source projects, they typically only support the latest release. We support 2 minor releases with lots of minor patches. So I think that's really impressive. Yeah, so moving on, we were the first registry to support machine learning on Kubernetes workloads such as kubeflow. This was something that we worked on with ByteDance, and this customizability was made possible by conforming to the OCI specs. The proxy caching was really critical. The timing was really good, right? We released it right before the Docker Hub rate limiting went into effect. I think there was a presentation that we did a while ago from Shakar, which runs an IT team within VMware. And he came out and shared his experience about using Harbor to support lots of internal teams who were getting hit with Docker Hub rate limits. The Harbor operator is something we've been working on for a couple months now. We have a semi-working prototype, but it's going through some heavy edits, and this could not have been possible without OVH Cloud. But I think we always thought the operator as a pattern wasn't quite there yet for the main stage. We had our reservations going into it, and it feels a bit heavy-handed for single deployments of Harbor, and Helm is super easy. So, but I think through this journey, we've learned a lot about the intricacies of the operator, and just the total range of capabilities that it can provide. And I think we'll see some massive dividends down the line. So here we have the list of companies that are based on Harbor or powered by Harbor. You can see I split those into 2 categories here. Like, I mean, what a lineup of companies that run on Harbor and use Harbor internally. This speaks volume about the features and the serviceability of the project. I was totally astonished when I was compiling this list of customers. So it's used pretty heavily in VMware itself. So the VMware Tanzu Network Registry is the delivery platform for a lot of projects as customers that you would download from VMware. Tanzu, which is our VMware flavored Kubernetes platform also uses Harbor quite a bit. And then we have OVH, we have SUSE, CAS registry, Tencent Enterprise, Rancher, containerregistry.com. Like all these guys are using Harbor. It's just incredible. So I just want to say thanks to everyone who played a huge part in this. Big shout out to the maintainer team, to contributors, to everyone in the community who did anything with Harbor, be it using Harbor and sharing it by word of mouth, or participating in the GitHub project. Like all of you helped the project get to where it is today. So Jonas or anybody else, feel free to jump in. I feel like I'm doing all the talking, but
You're doing great.
does anyone else on the Harbor team want to say something? This is an opportunity.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to the entire community. It's been a fantastic year, as Alex said. It's been super fun to see the community grow and the adopters list grow as well. And yeah, it's just been fantastic.
Yeah, and I think we did a really good job with documentation as well. Abigail did a really good job with lots of additions to the docs. I think the docs are really important for an OSS project. And I think, she strikes a good balance between technical and user-friendly. It's important for a project like Harbor to attract a wide variety of users, right? So we have users from all over the world. And yeah, I think the docs has been a highlight for sure for the last year. So we have a ticket here. Let's pin to the GitHub project. Yeah, just share your feedback of how you're using it. You can feel free to share your employer info, but you don't have to. It can be anonymous. We just want to know how you're using the project, what you like, what you don't like. So.
Alex.
Hey, Henry.
Hi, Alex. Thank you for organizing all these projects during last year. And I want to add to that is that the Harbor team actually has authored a book in Chinese though for the Harbor project. So it was published last year and circulating in the Chinese developer communities. And now we are working on the English version of the book, and hopefully we can get it published this year, sometime this year. If anyone is interested in the community to help with proofreading the version, you're welcome to let us know. Then we can maybe send you a rough cut when it is available. So for the people, yeah, just want to give you some update for that.
That's great. So where is it in the translation phase right now? Is it being worked on already?
I'm finding some of the translator now. When we have the right people, then we can probably start the translation job now. So it will take a while. So hopefully we can, sometime the second half of this year, we may be able to get a English version at the time, around that time. Yeah, back to you, Alex.
Thanks, Henry. If you have a link to the book, I can add it to the community meeting if anybody is interested. I can add to the community meeting notes after this.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Vadim, for the offer to help. Yeah, we certainly will contact you when we have a rough cut of that. Thanks.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm eager to help.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, so I'll say a few words about the roadmap for 2021. So, the Harbor operator is one of the biggest things that we're working on right now. It's a great hook for any company offering Harbor as a service. So, that will massively improve day-to-day operations, provide enterprise HA, to Harbor as a case cluster with, the redundancy across your key components. Fast scale up, scale down, sensible defaults. We'll have a story around backups and restore. So the operator is being actively worked on right now under the Go Harbor project. Feel free to take a look and see if you're interested. We're planning on a release, I think, maybe within the next month or two. I don't know if anyone has more precise dates, but that's what I've heard. So the other thing we're working on is Harbor Light. This is a lightweight registry instance. I mean, that's great for, you know, the serving workloads at the edge nodes. So this is going to be a harbor with a reduced feature set with a smaller footprint, right? So it's a smaller set of containers running, possibly without, you know, signing or scanning if the images can only be propagated from the central data center harbor. So think of this as like a hub spokes model where you have a single harbor in your core data center that's replicating images out to harbors sitting on your edge nodes. So Notary v2 is something we've been working on for about a year now, which is like, how do you persist the image signature across image syncs between different registries, right? We don't have a really good story around that, and we're fully dependent on Notary upstream to solve this. So we're looking to increase our equity in this project, working with other teams within VMware to drive this progress in Notary v2. So Docker distribution was a project that was recently, well, it's an old project, but that was recently donated to CNCF at Sandbox. And so two of the Harbor maintainers have joined the Docker distribution as maintainers as well, and we'll be spending, you know, quite a bit of their time on Docker distribution upstream, because this is still really a critical component of Harbor. So, you know, we're working with other maintainers from other projects like GitLab, GitHub, Docker, DigitalOcean. I think we're working on setting up a CI right now and getting a release out as soon as possible. If you follow the project, you know they've been on a pretty long hiatus, so we're looking to get a release out as soon as possible. Yeah, I mean, we've had lots of great ecosystem partnerships. You know, we've had good partnerships with SUSE, with Huawei, obviously working with OVH Cloud on the development of the Harbor operator. Like, these are all things that we're looking to invest in, and to make Harbor stronger, you need to have great partners. So security is a big story for 2021. You know, we're looking at integration with a project called Turn, which is a bomb scanner. So in addition to scanning for container image vulnerabilities, you know, you can scan for the full list of dependencies of your images. License checkers, possibly we're looking to incorporate with the Open Policy Agent framework to gate access to image pools from Harbor, you know, based on signatures or CV scan result, right? And like right now we have some of those, but this will allow us to write more complex logic around the ability to pull images or to replicate or you know, kick it off to the P2P side. We also have a goal to move towards FIPS compliance. It's called FIPS 140-2, and it's basically a specific set of TLS cipher suites that are allowed for you know, government. And then that will play into upgrading our base images from, you know, Photon to possibly a higher version of Photon, or something that's Ubuntu based, which we're exploring right now. And then combining the entire sets of Harbor images with the necessary Golang tool chains to become fully FIPS compliant. So if you're a company that hasn't been able to use Harbor because of, you know, certain compliance requirements, you know, these are things that we're looking into right now. So yeah, you know, this goes into the Harbor as an edge. One of the things is to improve performance and scalability. So scaling the number of projects, the number of repositories, the number of images and charts, and also stretching the number of users, right? Number of users, the number of robots, the interaction between the registry and the end user. And then finally, we have been working with a company called Alada to release an ARM64 based harbor. I think it's mostly done. We just have to put it out into the Go Harbor project. But this is something that the community has been asking for a long time. Yeah, I just think it's interesting, and it's something that would be impactful for companies downstream looking to use Harbor as well. So that's pretty much it. I compiled a list of some of the most critical items for 2021. I don't know if there's anything else that people want to talk about, or if there's something I missed. Any input from the Harbor maintainers, Daniel or Hong-Yan?
Have you mentioned the hey Eric? Have you mentioned the performance working group?
I mentioned that there's a goal to improve performance, right? The second to last. But yeah, there is a working group. How do people join this working group, or how do they find this working group?
I think we can create a channel on Slack and people can chime in. Generally
Okay.
speaking, we have in there has been some community users that have been using Harbor seriously for a while, and they start to see some performance issues, unfortunately. So yeah, so we're gonna work together and improve that. And yeah, we're gonna have regular meeting to set the goals and have a framework to add more test cases in the performance test suite to make sure that as the Harbor scales, it still reaches certain criteria in terms of performance.
Cool. So the working group isn't there yet, right? It's just something we're thinking about.
No, it's something we're talking about, but we're gonna create a channel. I think real soon, hopefully this week.
Yeah, I think I saw an issue with Postgres, right? Long running environments.
Mhm.
So yeah, I don't think these are listed in order of importance necessarily, but in some ways they are. Like the operators is super important. We have a goal to deliver Harbor Lite, which might be a separate Harbor instance under the Go Harbor project. So I don't know how we're going to do it yet, what it's going to look like, but it's going to be a smaller Harbor with smaller requirements in terms of memory, CPU. So anything else? Any questions or any comments? You can find all of this on the Harbor project board. So the board is a little outdated right now. I'm trying to lock down the stories for 2.3, that are relevant to the community. And then I'll move those over to the 2.3 swim lane as well. And I'll turn the product suggestions into product commitments. So we've already started on 2.3 actually.
I have maybe a question, or is a topic that I would like to bring up. So there was recently a question from the Kubernetes community, because they are running their own container registry, which is currently hosted on GCP. And they reached out to the Harbor community to ask for support, because they would like to use Harbor for that. And I reached out to them and asked if we could help them somehow, or because they have some requirements, maybe a bit unusual requirements. And so I don't know if you know a bit more than from the community there. Is there some effort going on? Because I had a contact with two of the community who are responsible for this effort. And so far I could only see the requirements, and but yeah, I'm not sure how we could help them, or how we could, yeah.
Yeah, so do you know what the ticket number is? I have not
Yes.
seen this.
Yeah, it's basically just questions, and the number is 884 issue. 884.
Okay. Yeah,
And
well,
so they
There's
asked,
also a. Please go ahead.
they asked this question on the Slack channel, and also
Yeah.
on the Kubernetes channel. And it's basically this configure registries in a project from values YAML file. So it's basically, but it's not, yeah, it's kind of not precise, because they have a bit of more requirements there. And yeah, maybe I can update the issue there, because I know they have a kind of a documentation, kind of a markdown file where they specify their requirements, and maybe we should, I'm not sure, I think maybe we just should kind of focus on the issue there and put everything in the issue, so that we have it kind of unified, because now some discussions are on the Kubernetes channel, some discussions are on the Harbor channel. So it's kind of a bit distributed at the moment. There is no single point of contact around this topic.
Yeah, I see the Slack messages from Sunday, March 7th in the Harbor channel there from Hippie Hacker and Caleb Woodbine.
Yeah, exactly. So, and there is the same discussion going on the channel. It's called WG-K8S Infra. So there's the same discussion going on inside the Kubernetes Infra community. I can share you the link to the channel.
Working up a prototype provider to provide a cross-cloud solution for the Kubernetes community to distribute the container images and artifacts.
I'm having trouble finding the issue.
It's not an issue. It's comments in the Harbor channel, the CNCF Slack. I'll ping you in there.
Yeah, Alex, I send you a message regarding that. The link.
Okay, got it.
I think this would be great. Vadim, were you looking at using Containers Registry as the solution for that, or?
No, my effort was there just to help them clarify their issues and their requirements in a way that they see value in using Harbor, because they're currently not sure if Harbor is the right solution for them. And the idea on their side is to host it themselves. So because they have this kind of a self-hosting approach, and currently they get credit by Google, and they're gonna get credit from other cloud providers, and then they want to distribute the containers on different locations, so that people kind of geo-distributed, so people from around the world can fetch the images, like for example China, because it is kind of restrictions there, and then also the North America and Europe. So that's, yeah, it's basically their idea how they want to see how they can distribute their own images, the Kubernetes images, and also kind of auxiliary images that they have. And this is what I was kind of trying to help them to see, if to make them kind of Harbor the right solution, or show them how they can use Harbor for that. So this was my intention, like show them the possibilities.
I have a lot of great questions in there. I see Daniel has already replied.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have the answer to that right now. I think Daniel gave pretty good answers to the first two. The other two, we can think about. But yeah, I mean, this kind of reminds me of another thing that I should have talked about in the roadmap, which is, there was an issue to, complaining how the configuration of Harbor has changed quite a bit since. I don't remember what version it was, but it was like 1.6 or 1.7, pretty early. And what we're thinking now is, we essentially, companies have requirements like compliance or legal requirements to track any changes made on Harbor by the system admin. And so they want to push those configuration changes from a config system, right, from a CI. So you can track who made the change, when, for what purpose. So what we're thinking about right now is maybe locking down the API access for the system level settings, and then just having them come from a CI instead. So taking out API access. Do you want to talk more about that, Daniel? Or
So
is
you
that
mean
pretty much-
completely disable API access?
Disable API access to certain parts of the system admin. So under system admin, there's a bunch of things you can tune with respect to.
Let me explain a little bit.
Yeah.
Background is the requirement is that they want to configure Harbor in a declarative way. But you know that it's possible after Harbor is started, the admin can update the configuration using API configuration API.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure there's only one way to do that. So currently the decision is that if we allow user to configure Harbor declaratively, we're gonna disable the system configuration API at the same time. So that means if you want to update the configuration, you need to restart Harbor. If you choose to, configure Harbor declaratively. Does that make sense? We are working on the proposal. Hopefully, in the next committee meeting, we can review it with the community.
So they have the option to opt in. Is that what you're saying? They don't have to do it.
It's an opt-in. Okay. Yeah, because I remember that Portus had the same functionality, that kind of declarative, and on one hand it was quite good, but on the other hand it was also very difficult for people to maintain their instance if they don't have access to the configuration. So this was kind of a double-sided, because on one hand it was good because you could configure a lot of config files. On the other hand, it was not so good because you could not change configuration. And so so I think both options would make sense. And if both options are supported, this would be great.
I don't know if it's opt-in yet. I think that's still something we're thinking about. But yeah, maybe making it optional would be good. Because once you do it, any changes that you need to make will re-trigger restart.
Could you repeat your concern, Bauer?
Yeah, so I remember when we used Portus in the past, which is the SUSE version, they had the declarative configuration, and it meant that you could declare a lot of things in the config files, like LDAP and like OpenID Connect, and it was good on one hand because you have everything in the config file, and then you restart the instance, and it's good and nice. But if you have a user base where the people don't have a config access, so that you have like a segregation where you have like the instance operators where they deploy and deploy the instance, and you have the maintainers who maintain the instance, and there is a kind of a disconnect then. And it was difficult for those people to update the configuration because they don't have access to the configuration. And it took a lot of effort to maintain this thing, because you need always to restart the instance, and you cannot restart the instance, and then if something is wrong in the configuration, the instance won't go up. So it was a lot of those little tiny issues that made it actually not very user friendly. On one hand, the declarative is a good point, but on the other hand, it becomes less user friendly, because you cannot just go. Now it's a nice feature. You just go there, go in the config, set your OpenID Connect credentials, copy and paste it, click on save, and it just works, And if you need to do it with a config file, then you need to create a pipeline where you have the config, you have to check in, you have to deploy it, and then it gets restarted, and then you can see if it's working or not. So that the process will be, instead of 10 seconds, it will be 3 minutes. And then you will find out that the config is wrong, because you attach the space and the YAML file in the wrong place, and then the whole thing doesn't work.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so it would be nice if there would be 2 options to do so. Like you have a configuration and the UI, for example, where you could do the changes.
Are you
Or the-
suggesting we
or-
offer the, sorry, are you suggesting we offer the 2 options at the same time, or they are alternative to each other?
I mean, I think they can be alternatives. So there are certainly
Yeah.
use cases where people want to say, yeah, we just want to do the configuration and
Yeah.
nothing else. And
Yeah.
there would also be people that would say, okay, we don't want to do this. We are happy with
Yeah.
configuring it
Right.
once in a while manually.
Yeah, that's exactly what we are thinking. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna offer these 2 options so people can decide which one they prefer.
Exactly. This is a
Yeah.
good option. Yeah. So and then they don't have to work both at the same time. So I mean,
Right, that would be
in
perfect.
Portos, we created something that made it work in 2 at the same time, but it's makes things complicated a bit more because you have
in
kind of
failover, that
overriding,
will be problematic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you don't know.
correctly.
So yeah, and for most use cases that we know of, it's one or the other. It's rarely
Yeah.
both.
Yeah, that's also our plan. So yeah, make sure you attend next community meeting, and hopefully we can discuss together and finalize the proposal.
Okay, happy
For the
to help.
input.
Cool. Anything else? Any other questions or concerns? Things you'd like to see?
Can I talk?
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely.
Okay. So hello. Last 2 weeks ago, I appeared creepily and didn't say anything, so I'm sorry for that. I work at CERN. We are actually we have Harbor implemented as a production prototype service, mainly because of the GitHub restrictions on image pool, because of the several projects that we serve. This was a requirement, and also because we have security concerns, and there are some features with Notary that we want to integrate, and currently I manage this service, and I found some problems behind our SSO. It's very specific to Singularity, so to use the Harbor is a full OCI registry complaint repository. So, and I found some problems that I'm still tracking. I ran the, I don't know if this is pertinent to say here. I'm just giving the point of the situation. I ran the OCI compliant, there is this repository to check the compliance of OCI, and behind our SSO we found some problems. I created some GitHub issues to track this. I am also actively tracking these with the Singularity team because it apparently only happens on their image or software. And yeah, that's it. Currently I'm upgrading to version 2.2, so the new version of Harbor release. So still no updates on that because internally we also want to add other stuff.
I'm sorry. I'm not sure if Alex mentioned that, but we see some performance issue in version 2.2. Due to the schema upgrade, there may be a situation that called the Harbor core using a lot of CPU, and we already have a fix. So maybe you can hold on for a moment to use 2.2.1. And as for the problem you are facing using Singularity, I have some impression about the issue, but it will be helpful if you can ping me the issue number via Slack, so we can continue the discussion on Slack on that issue.
We can put it
yeah,
here first as well. And I'll record it.
Yeah, I'm on my cell phone, so
Yeah, I'll take it down. Yeah, if you want to put it in chat here.
yeah. But we don't test Singularity in our pipeline, unfortunately. We tested Helm chart, CNA, CNAP, but not Singularity. So maybe there's some breakage somewhere, but we need to take a closer look.
Oh, and what is the OSI conformance library that you say you found? Can you share that? There isn't like an official one or unofficial one that
Yeah,
we've been
I
using.
can share. I can post everything on the chat.
Cool, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know there's an OSI conformance that we've actually been working with that team because there's some fixes needed in Docker distribution to be able to fully pass that, and that's why we've been.
I think this is a very weird issue because it's not tied to a single. I don't think it's tied to a single specific component, or there are multiple issues that are affected the same way, because from GitLab registry, which is what we use currently, we also see the exact same error. So it might be a problem with the Docker container, the Docker registry, or
Yeah, it could be. There's a couple of fixes that we are dependent on Docker distribution for. So that's why we're actively participating in Docker distribution upstream. Quite a few things that need to be merged. And yeah, I don't think we're testing Singularity. We tested Singularity as part of the 2.0 rollout. Just using, I think we use auras to test pushing and pulling. Just very, very basic interaction, but we've not.
Yeah, I did test Singularity for once, I think, like earlier last year, but I don't remember anything. But things work based on my impression.
Yeah, I think that is the conformance test that we've been looking at from OCI itself.
Mm-hmm.
Right, Daniel.
So
or Wang Yan.
yeah, so Diego, are you saying that you're seeing problem running conformance tests against Harbor?
Well, the issue didn't start here. So to resume this very quickly, we tried to push Singularity outside of without having an OCI authorization, and it works, but with the OCI it fails. It might be a configuration problem on my side, but I'm pretty sure that's not the case, because we can use Horn for image upload of ML models. It works, but not for Singularity. And the client that they use to manage to interface with the registry is the same. So it's still a bit fuzzy, because, and then I found out that I ran this registry conformance, and I found out that there was a post method that failed, a simple post, and it made sense with the error that I was observing. And so yeah, this is where we stopped. I found a way to bypass this by specifying the type of the image to to a compliant artifact level. Yeah, and if you follow the singularity issue, it's all there. So I think I answered your question. If not, please tell me.
Yeah, cool. We'll definitely take a look. Can you also put your, like, how do I reach out to you? What's your email
Yeah.
or Slack handle?
Yeah, I think we can continue discussion on CNCF Slack. I don't fully understand the problem.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to put
Rodrigo?
your Slack handle in here,
Yeah.
that'd be great.
I can start a thread
Or,
in
yeah,
the
Jonas
Harvard
could.
channel there with the links and stuff.
Cool. Yeah, well, I think, you know, over the past like year or two, we've seen lots of people from CERN showing up to Harvard community meetings. Which is really great, I think.
Love it.
Yeah. But like every time I ask, it seems like they're from different teams at CERN. So maybe like Harvard is doing so well that like different pockets of CERN are using Harvard independently. That's great news. Cool. That's all I have for today. I think Jonas already talked about the PR for the project maintainer, which I think like I'm on board now. So anything else? All right, well, we can end here if there's nothing else. Thanks everyone for attending. See you in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you,
everybody.
Alex. Bye.